That is the heartbreaking final message sent from a crew member on a cargo ship that's vanished in the Bermuda Triangle. The Coast Guard still hopes to find survivors.
We're going to begin with the race to find 4 crew members missing after this cargo ship capsized.
Container ships, the behemoths of modern trade, crisscross our oceans, delivering goods to every corner of the globe. But some of these colossal vessels carry more than just cargo. They harbor mysteries that have baffled experts and seafarers for decades. Join us as we explore 5 of the most mysterious container ships at sea. From ghost ships to inexplicable disappearances, these stories will leave you questioning what really happens on the vast open ocean. Number 5. The Chayong gang, North Korea's mysterious cargo ship. In the shadowy world of maritime intrigue, only few stories are as compelling and thrilling as that of the Chayong gang North Korean cargo ship. The Chayong gang is a general cargo ship that has plied the world's seas for decades. Built in 1977, this aging vessel is one of the many ships in North Korea's merchant fleet, often used for transporting various goods under radar. However, it was not until July 2013 that the ship's activities would catapult it into the global spotlight and cause controversy. On July 10, 2013, the Chong gang set sail from the Pacific side of the Panama Canal, heading for its final destination in North Korea.
A North Korean ship detained near the Panama Canal for smuggling Cuban weapons.
The official cargo manifest declared the ship was carrying 10,000 tons of sugar, a seemingly innocuous load. But as the ship approached the Panama Canal, Panamanian authorities, acting on a tip from an unnamed intelligence source, decided to inspect the vessel. What followed was a scene straight out of a spy novel. As Panamanian authorities began their search, they uncovered what appeared to be a massive shipment of sugar. However, beneath this sweet facade lay a much more sinister cargo. Hidden under hundreds of thousands of sacks of sugar, authorities found a cache of military hardware, 2 Soviet-era MiG-21 fighter jets, 15 MiG engines, and an array of sophisticated missile and radar systems.
The ship was seized in July of last year for smuggling Soviet-era arms, including 2 MiG-21 jet fighters under thousands of tons of sugar.
These were meticulously concealed in the ship's hold, a clear violation of international sanctions imposed on North Korea. The discovery sent shockwaves through the international community. The United Nations had long placed stringent sanctions on North Korea, prohibiting the import and export of arms.
The U.S. Security Council Sanctions Committee on late Monday voted to blacklist the operator of a North Korean ship seized last year in the Panama Canal, trying to smuggle military hardware out of Cuba.
The Chong gang's secret cargo was a blatant attempt to circumvent these restrictions, raising serious questions about the nature and extent of North Korea's illicit trade networks. The North Korean government was quick to respond, claiming that the weapons were obsolete and were being sent to North Korea for repair and eventual return to Cuba from where the ship had sailed. Cuba's government corroborated this, stating that the arms were defensive weapons from the mid-20th century being shipped to North Korea for repairs. However, this explanation did little to quell the international outrage or the suspicions of more nefarious activities. The Panamanian authorities seized the ship and detained its 35-member crew, including the captain, who reportedly attempted suicide during the search. The discovery led to a protracted investigation by the United Nations and various international bodies to determine the full extent of the violation. The incident with the Chayong gang had significant geopolitical ramifications. It highlighted the extent of North Korea's efforts to evade international sanctions and the lengths to which it would go to acquire or distribute military technology. The ship's seizure underscored the challenges faced by the international community in enforcing sanctions and preventing the proliferation of arms. The United Nations Security Council condemned the act.
As you know, shipments of arms or related material to or from Korea, would violate Security Council resolutions, 3 of them, as a matter of fact.
And the incident further isolated North Korea diplomatically. The ship was held in Panama for months as investigations continued, and it was not until early 2014 that the Panamanian authorities released the ship and its crew, although the illicit cargo was confiscated. The saga of the Chong gang indicates the murky world of international maritime persistent challenge of monitoring and enforcing sanctions. The ship itself, after being released, returned to North Korea. The incident also brought to light the significant role that intelligence and international cooperation play in maintaining global security.
This is because the ship's crew threatened the Panama Canal security by not declaring it was transporting weapons.
Without the tip-off that led Panamanian authorities to search the Chang gang, the ship might have successfully delivered its clandestine cargo, potentially altering the balance of military capabilities in the region. Furthermore, the Chang gang affair underscored the resilience and resourcefulness of North Korea's regime in sustaining its military ambitions despite international isolation. The sophisticated concealment of the weapons beneath tons of sugar.
The ship was seized in July of last year for smuggling Soviet-era arms, including 2 MiG-21 jet fighters under thousands of tons of sugar.
Illustrated a level of cunning and deception that has become synonymous with North Korea's strategies on the world stage. Number 4. MV Darbisha, the largest British shipwreck. The MV Darbisha was a massive bulk carrier, measuring nearly 300 meters in length and weighing over 169,000 tons. Built in 1976 by Swan Hunter in England, it was designed to transport vast quantities of cargo across the world's oceans. As a member of the Bridge-class series, Darbisha was a technological marvel of its time, capable of carrying over 157,000 tons of iron ore. On its final voyage, the Darbisha set sail from Septiles, Canada on July 11, 1980, loaded with a full cargo of iron ore destined for Kawasaki, Japan. The journey was expected to take several weeks crossing the North Pacific Ocean, which is known for its challenging weather conditions, especially during typhoon season. Everything seemed routine as the Darbisha made its way across the Pacific. However, on September 9, 1980, the vessel found itself in the path of Typhoon Orchid. This powerful storm, characterized by its fierce winds and towering waves, proved to be too much for Derbyshire. The ship disappeared without sending any distress signals, vanishing into the vast expanse of the ocean. The sudden loss of Darbisha left a profound impact on the families of the crew and the maritime community.
You came up to my bedroom at the time and said, there's been an accident, it's your dad. But at that point, we didn't know what had happened.
The 44 people on board, 42 crew members and 2 wives, were never heard from again, and the cause of the ship's disappearance remained a mystery for years. Immediately following the disappearance, search and rescue operations were launched, but they were hampered by the vast search area and severe weather conditions. No survivors were found, and only a few pieces of floating debris, including a lifeboat and some oil drums, were recovered.
Try to figure out where's this ship that should have been here. All they see is an oil slick. There's no trace, no sign of the ship. It's just gone.
These fragments provided little insight into what had caused such a massive ship to vanish without a trace. Initial theories about Darbisha's fate varied. Some speculated that the ship might have experienced a structural failure due to the extreme stress of the typhoon. Others suggested that human error or navigational mistakes could have played a role.
We were talking about something was man-made. This wasn't geological. It was definitely man-made.
However, without any concrete evidence, these theories remained speculative. For the families of those lost in Darbisha, the lack of answers was unbearable. They formed the Darbisha Families Association, DFA, and tirelessly campaigned for a thorough investigation into the sinking.
The Coast Guard office sent investigators out immediately, and so they were gathering information. They were feeding it to it.
Their persistence eventually led to the British government commissioning several studies to determine the fate of Darbisha. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, a series of surveys were conducted, but it wasn't until 1994 that a breakthrough occurred. A deep-sea search led by the oceanographer Robert Ballard, famed for his discovery of the Titanic wreck, located the remains of Darbisha lying on the ocean floor at a depth of over 4,000 meters. The discovery of Darbisha's wreck was a monumental step in uncovering the truth. The wreckage was scattered over a large area, indicative of a catastrophic breakup. The analysis of the wreckage, combined with the data collected during the surveys, revealed that the ship had indeed broken apart in the face of Typhoon Orchid's ferocity. The investigation concluded that Darbisha had suffered from a structural failure due to the immense stresses imposed by the storm. A critical factor was found to be the design of the ship's hatch covers. These covers were not strong enough to withstand the pounding of the massive waves, leading to the flooding of the cargo holds. As water inundated the holds, the ship's stability was compromised, ultimately causing it to break apart and sink rapidly. The final report on the sinking of the Darbisha was published in February, nearly 20 years after the tragedy. T provided a comprehensive analysis of the events leading to the ship's loss and offered crucial recommendations for improving the safety of bulk carriers. One of the key findings was the inadequacy of the hatch covers and the need for more rigorous design standards to ensure they could withstand extreme weather conditions. The report also highlighted the importance of regular inspections and maintenance to identify and rectify potential weaknesses in ship structures. The lessons learned from the Darbisha disaster led to significant reforms in the maritime industry. New regulations were introduced to enhance the safety of bulk carriers, including stricter design criteria for hatch covers, improved inspection regimes, and better training for crew members to handle emergency situations. The MV Darbisha's disappearance during Typhoon Orchid in 1980 remains one of the most significant tragedies of the 20th century. All right, guys, it's time for our subscribers' pick. This image you are looking at captures the bow of a cargo ship believed to be the Lady R, a Russian cargo ship that recently caused quite a stir in Simonstown, South Africa.
The findings of the inquiry into the docking of the Russian cargo vessel, the Lady R, at Simonstown Naval Base in December last year.
The Lady R arrived without much fanfare, but its activities quickly drew attention. Why? Because it was observed loading and unloading cargo at night during load-shedding periods, making everything seem super secretive. Now Lady R has been sanctioned by the US Treasury Department. This means the ship is suspected of carrying sensitive or illegal materials. While the exact contents of its cargo remain a mystery, the clandestine operations suggest something significant and possibly illegal or dangerous was being transported. Local residents and naval personnel also witnessed the ship's unusual behavior, fueling speculations about what it might have been up to. Despite the ship's departure early in the morning, its next destination and the true nature of its mission remain unknown, adding to the intrigue. So what was Lady R really carrying? Military equipment? Secret documents? We may never know for sure, but you can drop your opinions and thoughts with us in the comment section. Number 3. The tragic story of SS Faro, a modern disaster. The SS Faro was a US-flagged roll-on or roll-off cargo ship built in 1975. At 790 feet long and with a gross tonnage of 31,515 tons, Faro was designed to transport vehicles and general cargo. The ship operated under TOTE Maritime, primarily running routes between the US mainland, Puerto Rico, and other Caribbean destinations. On September 29, 2015, Faro departed from Jacksonville, Florida, bound for San Juan, Puerto Rico. The ship carried a mixed cargo of containers, trailers, and vehicles, essential supplies destined for the island. Captain Michael Davidson, a seasoned mariner, commanded the vessel with a crew of 32 members. As Faro set sail, Hurricane Joaquin was forming in the Atlantic Ocean. Initially, the storm was not considered a major threat to the ship's planned route. However, as Faro made its way southeast, Joaquin rapidly intensified into a Category 4 hurricane, with winds exceeding 130 miles per hour and towering waves. Despite the increasingly dire weather forecasts, Captain Davidson chose to proceed on the planned route.
Curses and he says to run the course. And that's what they did.
His decision was based on available weather data and the ship's schedule, as Faro was operating under a tight delivery timetable. As the ship approached the Bahamas, it became clear that it was heading directly into the path of the intensifying hurricane. On October 1, 2015, Faro sent a distress signal indicating that the ship had lost propulsion and was taking on water. The message reported that the vessel was listing significantly and the crew was struggling to maintain control. The last known communication from Faro described the harrowing conditions as the ship was battered by the hurricane. The vessel disappeared shortly after this final distress call. The U.S. Coast Guard launched an extensive search and rescue operation, but no survivors were found.
The fleet tug USNS Apache is now on station to begin searching for the wreckage of the missing U.S. flag merchant vessel El Faro, which has been missing for approximately 3 weeks. El Faro went missing during the height of Hurricane Joaquin.
The loss of El Faro marked one of the deadliest maritime disasters in recent U.S. history, with all 33 crew members presumed dead. This led to a massive investigation aimed at uncovering the cause of the disaster. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and the U.S. Coast Guard spearheaded the search for the ship's wreckage, which was believed to lie in deep waters near the Bahamas. In October 2015, an underwater search team using sonar technology located the wreck of El Faro at a depth of about 15,000 feet.
A new development in the search for El Faro. Officials believe they may have spotted it using sonar technology.
The ship was found in an upright position, but it had suffered catastrophic structural damage. The discovery of the wreck provided a critical opportunity to gather evidence and understand what went wrong during the ship's final voyage. The investigation into the sinking of El Faro was one of the most thorough and complex in maritime history. The primary focus was on retrieving the ship's voyage data recorder, VDR, commonly known as the black box, which could provide vital information about the ship's final moments. After several attempts, the VDR was recovered in August 2016. The device contained crucial data, including audio recordings from the ship's bridge, weather conditions, and navigation details. The analysis of this data provided a detailed account of the ship's final hours and the decisions made by the crew. The decision to continue on the planned route, despite the hurricane's increasing severity, was a significant factor. The captain and crew had access to weather data, but the rapidly changing conditions and limitations in communication played a role in their decision-making. The ship's loss of propulsion, caused by flooding in the engine room, left it vulnerable to the hurricane's power. Without propulsion, El Faro was unable to navigate away from the storm or maintain stability. The investigation also highlighted vulnerabilities in the ship's design and maintenance. The open cargo decks allowed water to flood the ship, and the aging structure may have contributed to the rapid sinking. The crew's response to the emergency was also scrutinized. While they acted with professionalism, the extreme conditions and the speed of the flooding overwhelmed their efforts. The loss of El Faro prompted significant changes in maritime safety regulations and practices. The NTSB and Coast Guard made several recommendations to prevent similar tragedies in the future. These included improvements in weather forecasting and communication, enhanced training for crews, and stricter regulations on ship design and maintenance. Tote Maritime also faced scrutiny and made changes to its operational procedures. The company implemented new safety protocols and invested in technology to better monitor weather conditions and ship performance. The tragedy of El Faro left a great impact on the maritime community and the families of the lost crew members.
In Jacksonville Sunday, families of El Faro's crew left flowers and gifts at the plaques bearing their loved one's name.
The disaster has made us realize the relentless power of nature and the importance of rigorous safety standards and preparedness in the shipping industry. The legacy of El Faro is one of lessons learned and the enduring quest for safety and accountability in the face of nature's formidable power. Number 2. The haunting mystery of SS Urang Medan. The SS Urang Medan was a Dutch freighter, purportedly named after the Indonesian city of Medan on the island of Sumatra. The exact details of the ship's construction, ownership, and previous voyages are shrouded in mystery, adding to the allure of its story. Some accounts suggest that the ship was operating under the Dutch East Indies Shipping Registry, which was common for vessels in Southeast Asia during the post-World War II era. In June 1947, the Urang Medan was sailing through the Strait of Malacca, one of the busiest and most strategic maritime routes in the world, linking the Indian Ocean with the Pacific. The ship's exact destination and cargo remained speculative, with some sources suggesting it was carrying a mixed load typical of post-war freighters, including goods such as spices, machinery, and possibly hazardous materials. The legend of the SS Urang Medan began with a series of distress signals reportedly intercepted by nearby ships and shore stations. The most commonly cited version of the distress message is as follows: SOS from Urang Medan, we float. All officers, including the captain, are dead in the chart room and on the bridge, probably whole crew dead. This was followed by a series of indecipherable Morse code signals, and then one final chilling message, I die. The cryptic and terrifying nature of the distress call prompted immediate action. The nearest ship, the American merchant vessel Silver Star, responded to the SOS and altered its course to locate the Urang Medan. When the Silver Star reached the coordinates provided in the distress signal, they found the Urang Medan adrift, apparently undamaged, but eerily silent. Boarding parties were dispatched to investigate, and what they discovered on board was the stuff of nightmares. Every member of Urang Medan's crew was found dead, their bodies strewn across the ship in various locations. The crew members reportedly had ghastly expressions of horror on their faces, with some accounts describing their eyes wide open and mouths agape, as if frozen in their final moments of terror. Even the ship's dog was found dead, with a similarly grotesque expression. Adding to the mystery, there were no visible signs of injury or struggle on any of the bodies. The ship's chart room and bridge, where the captain and officers were found, showed no evidence of damage or foul play. The temperature on board was reportedly unnaturally cold, despite the tropical climate outside. As the crew of the Silver Star attempted to tow the Urang Medan back to port for further investigation, a fire broke out in the ship's cargo hold. The flames spread rapidly, and the Silver Star's crew had to abandon the salvage operation. Shortly thereafter, the Urang Medan reportedly exploded with such force that the vessel was torn apart and sank into the depths of the Strait of Malacca. The destruction of the ship left no trace of the evidence that might have explained the mysterious deaths. And with the Urang Medan's sinking, so too sank the hope of solving one of the most perplexing maritime mysteries in history. The story of the SS Urang Medan has given rise to numerous theories. One theory suggests that the ship was carrying a cargo of hazardous materials, such as chemicals or gases, which could have leaked and poisoned the crew. This might explain the lack of visible injuries and the strange expressions on their faces. However, the specifics of such a cargo remain speculative. Another plausible explanation is that a malfunction in the ship's boiler system led to a buildup of carbon monoxide, which suffocated the crew. The eerie expressions might have been caused by the lack of oxygen and the crew's struggle to breathe in their final moments. Some have speculated that the ship could have been attacked by pirates who subsequently fled, although the lack of visible violence or theft makes this theory less likely. The more fantastical theories delve into the supernatural, suggesting that the crew encountered some form of ghostly or extraterrestrial phenomenon. These theories, while captivating, lack any substantial evidence. Another intriguing theory posits that the Urang Medan might have been involved in clandestine operations related to post-war espionage. The secrecy surrounding the ship and its mission could have been deliberate, and the incident might have been a cover-up for a mission gone wrong. The story of the SS Urang Medan has persisted for over 7 decades, becoming a subject of fascination for researchers, writers, and paranormal enthusiasts. The lack of concrete evidence and the destruction of the ship have left the mystery wide open, allowing for endless speculation and storytelling. The truth behind this ghost ship may never be fully known, but its legacy lives on in the annals of maritime mystery, inviting us to ponder the unknown and the unexplained. Number 1. The vanishing of the SS Marine Sulfur Queen. The SS Marine Sulfur Queen began its life as a T2 tanker, part of a fleet built during World War II to transport oil. Post-war, the ship was repurposed to carry molten sulfur. This conversion involved significant modifications, including the installation of sulfur-carrying tanks and heating elements to keep the sulfur in a liquid state during transit. At 524 feet long, the ship was a formidable vessel, capable of carrying over 15,000 tons of cargo. Despite its robust construction, the Marine Sulfur Queen had several reported structural issues. Concerns about the ship's safety were raised even before its final voyage, with reports of corrosion, structural weaknesses, and previous incidents of fire. The ship's hazardous cargo added another layer of complexity to its operations. Molten sulfur must be maintained at a temperature above 239 degrees Fahrenheit to remain liquid, requiring careful management and robust containment measures. Sulfur itself is highly flammable and poses significant risks if containment fails. The hazardous nature of the cargo made the ship's journey particularly perilous. On February 2, 1963, the SS Marine Sulfur Queen set sail from Beaumont, Texas, bound for Norfolk, Virginia. The ship was under the command of Captain George W. Bullock, with a crew of 39 men. As the vessel navigated the Gulf of Mexico, weather conditions were reported to be fair, with no significant storms or adverse weather that could have predicted trouble ahead. By February 4th, the ship was last heard via radio contact while passing through the Straits of Florida. After this, the SS Marine Sulfur Queen seemingly vanished into thin air. When the ship failed to arrive in Norfolk as scheduled, a massive search operation was launched. The United States Coast Guard spearheaded the search for the missing vessel, deploying aircraft and ships over an extensive area covering the Gulf of Mexico, the Florida Straits, and the Atlantic Ocean. The search, one of the most intensive in Coast Guard history, spanned over 2 weeks and covered more than 350,000 square miles. Despite the exhaustive efforts, the search yielded only a few scattered pieces of evidence: 2 life preservers, a life jacket, and an empty lifeboat. These items were found drifting off the Florida coast, but there was no sign of the ship itself or the 39 crew members. The lifeboat and life preservers provided little clue as to what had transpired, leaving investigators baffled. The mysterious disappearance of the SS Marine Sulfur Queen has given rise to numerous theories, each attempting to explain the seemingly inexplicable. One of the most reasonable theories centers on the ship's known structural issues. The conversion of the T2 tanker to carry molten sulfur placed significant strain on its hull and infrastructure. Corrosion and fatigue cracks might have weakened the vessel, making it susceptible to catastrophic failure. The ship could have broken apart suddenly, leading to a swift and total loss. Given the hazardous nature of molten sulfur, an onboard explosion is another likely cause. Sulfur's flammability means that even a minor containment breach or spark could result in a devastating fire or explosion. Such an event could have destroyed the ship almost instantly, leaving little time for the crew to respond or send a distress signal. In addition, the liquid sulfur cargo, if not properly stabilized, could have shifted during transit, causing the ship to list and potentially capsize. Shifting cargo is a known hazard for tankers, and with the additional complexities of molten sulfur, this remains a plausible scenario. While less likely, the possibility of human error or sabotage cannot also be entirely ruled out. Mistakes in handling the cargo, navigating the vessel, or even intentional sabotage might have led to the ship's demise. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this theory. As with many maritime and aviation disappearances in the region, some have speculated that the Marine Sulfur Queen fell victim to the mysterious forces of the Bermuda Triangle. This theory, while popular in conspiracy circles, lacks scientific backing and is often dismissed by serious investigators. The disappearance of the SS Marine Sulfur Queen had a profound impact on maritime safety regulations and the shipping industry. The loss highlighted the inherent risks associated with converting older vessels to carry hazardous materials, prompting stricter standards for such modifications. The case also underscored the importance of rigorous maintenance and inspection protocols, especially for ships carrying dangerous cargo. The Coast Guard's investigation revealed deficiencies in the oversight and regulation of such vessels, leading to improvements in safety practices. For the families of the 39 crew members, the loss of the Marine Sulfur Queen was a devastating and unresolved tragedy. The lack of closure has left a lingering sense of loss and unanswered questions. Memorials and tributes have been dedicated to the crew, ensuring their memory lives on even as the mystery of their fate remains unsolved. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.